Good afternoon. My name is Terry, and I'm with Visit Champaign County, and you are joining us today at Robert Allerton Park and Retreat Center, where we are going to tour one of the 7 wonders of Illinois and visit some of the most beautiful gardens that you'll find in the state. Joining us today is Derek Peterson, and Derek is the expert here at Allerton Park, and so he's going to give us a great tour of the gardens and give you some of the history of this fantastic property. So, Derek, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Sure. Well, welcome to all the viewers. We're excited to be the prototype for this innovative routine here. So we're starting here in front of the mansion, the Allerton Mansion. Robert Allerton was the son of Samuel Allerton, and Samuel Allerton was where all the money came from. Samuel started the stockyards in Chicago, and his only son, Robert, moved down to Monticello, Illinois to become a farm manager. And the first thing that Robert had to do when he moved down here, Samuel built him a proper farmhouse. And so you'll see the proper farmhouse behind us is actually a 36,000 square foot Georgian-style mansion. And currently today we hold it for events, weddings, conferences, overnights. There's 17 rooms inside that we use it as a hotel. But what Robert really enjoyed wasn't the mansion, it was the outdoors. And so as we walk through the gardens today, we're going to take a walk that Robert walked often. He was an avid walker. He has 14 miles of hiking trails here throughout the property in the natural areas. The natural areas here consist of about 1,500 acres. They're split in the middle by the Sangamon River. They also have, he has a 14-acre rolling meadow. And so I always talk about how in Champaign County we're so used to things being flat, and when you come out here into Piatt County along the Sangamon River, things get rolling, and it's pretty nice. It can get very nice out here topography-wise. So when Robert built the mansion, his first step was he wanted to start some formal gardens, and so he went to England to get a prototype for the mansion, and he found the Ham House in Surrey, England, and it was an H-frame style house. And along with the Ham House, not only was there the structure, but there was also the formal gardens. And so Robert worked hard to replicate formal gardens and to collect statuary, and we'll see those as we walk along here. Robert had 14 dogs at one time, and so he enjoyed walking. He would often critique his guests that would come down to stay the weekend with him on a retreat, that they would sleep in because they thought they were on vacation, and Robert was up at 6 a.m. Hiking and walking his dogs. So as we walk down the formal gardens, the first garden we come to is a connection between his home, his house, the mansion, and the first formal garden, which is the brick wall garden. This garden is called the Avenue of the Formal Gardens. It's got great texturing, layers. We have a ground cover, then it layers up to pagoda dogwood, and then layers up to more white pine. And then on the other side, you can see the pond and the woodland. All of this was cattle pasture when Robert established the property. And so any of the trees that you see throughout the formal gardens would have been planted by Robert. And then more of the natural woodland areas down by the river were established. Those wetlands and highlands are original. They haven't been touched since Robert was here. So it takes quite a crew to maintain the gardens. We currently have 2 full-time gardeners and about 6 extra help. And so the crew work from the two full-time gardeners work year-round, and then the extra help they'll catch on throughout the summer months when the weeding and the watering and the planting come full flavor. We use a lot of high school students and college-age students. We have internships at the university. So here are a couple of our gardeners here hard at work. We're live streaming on the internet right now, so smile and wave, guys, right? There we go. The first 2 sculptures you come to are the sculptures of the primitive men. They're pieces by Glenn Philpott. Allerton had artists that would come and stay with him, sort of an artist in residency, so to speak. And these 2 sculptures here were first painted by Glenn Philpott, and it's of Ted Page, which would have been Robert's butler. And Ted Page would pose with large books on his back, and Glenn would paint this idea of man rising from the earth and pushing earth up towards it. They were carved by Charles Lang, and they're the first two sculpture you come to in the formal garden area. As we walk along the formal garden, the avenue of the formal garden, you'll notice the Japanese yews on both sides. It looks like they're trimmed up so you can see the undergrowth. That's actually done by white-tailed deer. We have a large white-tailed deer population in the park, and the white-tailed deer come in and munch. Just about that's as high as a white-tailed deer can reach. Yeah.
More, I would like to know how many people can stay at the estate at one time.
Oh, great. Well, right now we have 52 beds, and most are queens or doubles or kings. And so we have, we can comfortably accommodate about 82 people is what we usually tell people. And we have a lot of weddings and special events that we have more than that, and people double up and triple up in beds. But that's about where we're at with occupancy levels. That's a great question. Thank you, Maura. So as we're walking along the formal garden here, you'll see the boxwood hedge on both sides. It's another idea of a textured landscape where you have a low-growing landscape to a higher, and then to the background. John Gregg, who was Robert's adopted son, said that he would paint with, and his canvas was nature. And so you can kind of see that idea of the painting in the landscape with the natural areas in the background. It's a great time to be at the park. Lots of flowers are in bloom. We're approaching the Rose Garden Terrace, and we'll talk a little bit about the Rose Garden Terrace as we walk to it. The Rose Garden Terrace originally had tea roses in it. They became too much to maintain, and so they staggered those out with grasses. And then back in 2009, we came in and we replanted knockout roses. We also replanted Jackminii clematis on the wall, and you can see those right now as perfect purple bloom on the wall right between the roses of pink and yellow. And it's a great time to come out here and see the Jackminii in contrast with that orange brick. The two sculptures here and in the Rose Garden Terrace are sea maiden sculptures, and these sculptures Robert and John found in Hamburg, Germany. And they're ladies, and they were actually in front of a shipping yard. The one here on the right is the original, and originally in Hamburg, Germany, she holds a ship in her right hand, and in her left hand she's given the universal sign for okay, and the advertisement meaning that the ships built in the shipyard are of okay quality. Well, Robert wanted to change her out, so she held a bowl, because as we walk forward here, we'll be going into the brick wall garden, and the bowls represent a plentiful harvest, which the brick wall garden was originally his vegetable garden. He made a pair for her on the left-hand side because he liked mirrored images that were set, and then a focus point. And so as we walk in, you'll see the two sculptures on the left and right, and then the focus point will be the lady in the scarf sculpture. So this is the brick wall garden. This was originally Robert's vegetable garden. He had vegetables planted in rows. In the middle, there was a dipping pool for irrigation. In 2010, we came in and replanted this garden after we redid all the walls in the garden, and we put more of a perennial base around the outside to replicate that vegetable appearance where there's multiple things going on at once. And then the hedge you see is boxwood. This is originally the way Robert had the hedge in appearance, but instead of boxwood, he used parsnips and carrots. And so he is much ahead of his time in vegetable garden. He had a form and a function to do his vegetable gardening with. You'll come here to the middle of the brick wall garden, and this is actually the last piece of sculpture that was brought to the park. This is the lady in the scarf sculpture, and he brought this to the park in 1942. He found it at an art fair in Chicago. It was redone in the late 80s, early 90s, but it's a wire mesh mold, and then sand silica cement was troweled on the wire mesh mold. We have to cover her to help with the water infiltration during the winter. So if you're out here during the colder months of the year, she might have a tarp cover over her, and that's just to help keep the